Stop sharing for a sec to make sure I'm recording this. Yes, we are. That's good. That means I think we're going to get it going. All right, I'm hoping everybody can see the screen I'm sharing. Give me some sort of thumbs up or something that acknowledges. Thank you, Paul.
Got it.
All right, we're going to get going just in the interest of everyone's time and the fact we're recording this and nobody's going to want to watch this first part until we get started anyways. What I'm going to try and do is get a lot of information in front of people quickly, not to overwhelm you, but to help you see that we've got you covered as far as content for 3 consecutive days of CCR, starting 1 week from tomorrow, February 8th, 9th, and 10th. Okay.
Can you make that screen bigger?
What's that?
Just enlarge your paper so you can see it better.
How's that? So
go more.
More says Ray, you're getting old like I am. It has to get bigger every time, doesn't it? There we go. I have this massive screen in front of me, so it looks mammoth at this point, but I understand. Thank you, Ray. February 8th, 9th, and 10th, next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Tomorrow's regularly scheduled CCR brought to you by your grade level counselor leader. So if you have any questions about what to do tomorrow, make sure you ask the appropriate person. What we are doing for those 3 days is exactly what we did the year before last. If anybody remembers, like right before this pandemic thing started, we did this. We had 3 days in a row of CCR, and we really are doing a very similar version. And we'll tell you largely why. One is it gets everybody in the conversation a little more, I think, intentionally, rather than it just being something that someone else does. Course request and registration process is something that touches all of us and impacts all of us. So I think it's fair that we're all involved in at least understanding what's going on and what's at stake. And I think number 2, it's super efficient. I'll be honest, as I think all of you know, what we've been working through the last year and a half is a whole lot of stuff from students that we're not necessarily used to seeing or not seeing in some cases. And what that's doing for our world as counselors is really important to try and make this as efficient as possible from a rollout standpoint. So if we can start the process next Tuesday and essentially be done with it by the time CCR wraps up on Thursday, that's a win as far as efficiency goes. And we really did experience that 2 years ago. It got the process done a lot more quickly and efficiently for a higher percentage of our students than what we tried in the past. And there's quite a few things we tried in the past. So what's on your screen is a little bit of a rundown of the 3 days. And I know it says grade 9 on the screen, but really it's going to be the same format for all 3 grade levels, grades 9, 10, and 11. And as I say that, I don't want anyone getting defensive and thinking, well, what about those lazy CCR 12 teachers? What are they going to be doing? You guys have been here the last few months. You see the emails from Lori Christopherson every day. You know that we've got staff out pretty much every day. So I'm highly confident that we'll be asking some CCR 12 teachers to step in for teachers at different grade levels next Tuesday and or Wednesday and or Thursday, depending on how things are going. We also are pretty sparse in covering the cafeteria areas on those CCR days. So I suspect Joel might step in and try and get some extra help during those days as well. So what is coming next week on day 1 is really a video that the counselors have put together. We have to do it again for grade 9 because we're not professional filmmakers and kind of screwed up a couple things on the 9th grade version. But you will have a video that is specific to your grade level that you will basically hit play on for day 1. And that will actually cover the content of these bullet points for day 1. Okay, so there's not a lot that you have to be in charge of as far as feeling like you're an expert on. What we would hope is that you take a look at these things. And what I mean by these things are the 1, 2, 3, 4 bullet points that exist for day 1. I'm going to do the quick preview version right now, but we're not going to get in depth on any of them because that's not really the best use of our time. One of those items, which must be tiny on your screen right now, huh, Ray? Looks a little bit like this. It's basically a cover sheet, instruction sheet that talks about the more the policies around registration as far as how tough it is to change schedules. One thing that I wish that I would ask staff to try and reinforce in this process is, unlike some schools, this process drives our master schedule. What the students request creates a schedule that Joel gets to spend all kinds of time figuring out. Okay. That is what makes it really hard to make changes later on. We have this crazy wide amount of variety that we offer to a school our size, and then it gets put into a master schedule, and it's a lot of little jigsaw pieces. So once it's set, it's really hard to change. Okay, so that's what our policy is kind of about. The other part on this screen is really the, like, how do you go into Skyward and request classes? And that's not at all exciting or glamorous to go into right now. So we will make sure we cover that in our videos. Something else in that initial packet is what we call our 4-year course planning sheet, which we think is a phenomenal tool regardless of what grade students are going into, because it helps them see what's coming most immediately. So a 9th grader going into 10th grade can see what they have to take versus where they have some space. Same for 10th grade going into 11th grade. And then students can see by the time they're seniors where there just aren't as many things they have to have towards graduation requirements. So it's a planning tool that we will build into this game plan with you guys. The last part of that initial packet is a course list, which is not at all something we're going to go in depth on right now. But that covers this first bullet of a package and a packet in the Schoology group that you'll find. We've provided an FAQ document for students because we've seen this play out over time, and we're not terrible at anticipating some of their frequently asked questions. So we're going to give you one of those in case it helps you answer a question or two. We're going to give you as CCR teachers some general talking points that, again, we just want to position you guys to have enough information, but not feel like you have to know everything. So there's some bullet points here to browse. And then there's some grade level specific stuff on page 2 that will help you kind of see where in the context and the scope and sequence of being a student at Northfield High School that you might want to feel a little more prepared around for your particular grade level. Okay, so those are the bullet points here. And then the last bullet point is what I just sent you as an attachment. And I started getting emails right away from some staff around, hey, could you adjust this word, or you missed a little something here or whatever. I was an English teacher before I was a counselor, so I love it when people are not afraid to revise or edit work that we put in front of them. So please reach out in an email. If you see something in that draft that I sent, get it to me real quick, because that sucker's going to print before the end of tomorrow so that we can get the final PDF in front of students. And my goal is to get a hard copy in the hand of each of you before you see students in CCR a week from tomorrow. Okay, so trying to get the last things cleaned up on that thing. So day 1, video, okay, but know what's coming before you hit play on the video. Day 2 is grade level day, but I would also probably label it and planning day. So that students really spend a little bit of time, like literally mapping out a strategy of classes. What we do when we go talk to 8th graders is we ask them to put this document into Notability or something else where they can make notes on it and interact with it to make a plan and to start jotting down some things. For some students, it's an exercise in, they're the ones that want to take and do everything, and they have to start, making some prioritized decisions. For other students, it's more an exercise in, oh man, I got to get to at least 6 classes each semester. And we got to, wring a little more out of the lemon in those cases, and make sure that we get enough in place with them. Also on day 2, if you're looking at the screen, notice that each of the counselors is going to be out and about. We're going to be in a designated location. So if students are coming to you with questions you don't really know how to answer, send them out to us. If it's so specific that they need a conversation about their life plan or what they want to do after high school, they might want to reach out to us via Schoology or via school email and set up an actual appointment to have that conversation. Okay, that's really why we build in the timeline that we do. We'd love to see by the end of the 3rd day, students done with all their requests. But in reality, some of them need more time to talk to people that are important, whether it's teachers, parents, counselors, other adults that they trust as far as some of the course selections they're making. We want to give them that, not just 3 days to quick get it all done and talk to all the people you know, but if they need to set up an appointment over that next week, week and a half, they've got time to do that with somebody in their life. Okay. So day 3, here's what we'd love it to look like. When you watch the video on day 1, you're going to see what going into Skyward as a student and requesting courses looks like. If you would make an effort on that last day, that Thursday, to walk around and check to see how many credits each student has requested. Okay. And when we talk credits, what we're really looking for is 6.0, 6.5, or 7.0 credits. That means they've either got a study hall 1 or both semesters, or they're going full schedule on it for next year as far as courses they're requesting. We would also love if you would check their alternates to make sure they've actually placed them. Again, when we have such a wide variety of course offerings, invariably they don't all fit for everybody. And we need students to have backup plans primarily for their electives. So really that day 3, we're relying a little bit on staff to be the checkers as far as, did you get this done? How close or far from being done are you? We really would like to see a draft for everybody done. And then they do have a little bit of time until they have to finalize their choices. They have until Friday, February 18th. So they got a week and another day or 2 before it's got to be all wrapped up. Okay. So I think that's the rundown of what we're trying to accomplish. The thing that I did not show that I would like to show, I referenced that there's this draft of a registration guide that's out there. If you're a great close reader, match up the table of contents with your course offerings to make sure titles and page numbers match. But then, you know, a lot of the stuff as far as intro material, you may not find super fascinating or exciting. But once you start getting into each subject area and content area, you can certainly double check and see that course descriptions are the way you want them to be. Things like prerequisite information, especially for some of our elective areas, are there. There's a decent amount of stuff that's changed in terms of course names or offerings. So I always get super nervous as far as, did we get it right in this document? Because we really rely on this handbook really to help students and families see what we're offering at Northfield High School and help them make informed choices. Okay, enough of the sharing as far as screens. I wanted to leave a few minutes in case other counselors have been listening and know that I missed something or left something out, or we've got about 4 or 5 minutes if anybody has any questions, because that was a 13-minute whirlwind of information that I just threw down your throats on a Monday afternoon at the end of the first day of second semester.
Mark, if I can just pop in and reiterate your point about double checking that the students in your groups have 6, 6.5, or 7. There is it is a long, arduous process to recover that for any student that doesn't have those. It really adds an entire extra step that takes a couple of weeks for counselors and administration to get that gap closed. So anything you can do to ensure that the students have 6 or more speeds up the process over the summer dramatically.
It really does. It's a little bit like trying to find those students during distance learning that didn't want to be found. Jamie, 4 boards entering into the chat.
I feel like this comes up every year. So our SPED students, the classes they need aren't in the class list.
Yep.
And so they won't be registering for 6 classes. So maybe gen ed teachers need to be aware, like they can't register for English 11 because they won't be in that class. It would be great if they were in there, because then we could send them with a copy of their IEP where we make a plan every year, right? Looking 1 year ahead, these are the classes you will need.
Right.
So they should have that information.
Right.
They just can't enter it. We've always had the SPED teachers enter it, but it would be great if they could.
Yep. And Jamie, that's a great point. I'm really glad you brought it up. What do you think is a better mistake? And what I mean by that is it better if special ed students mistakenly enter some gen ed classes they're not going to take, or is it a better mistake for them to leave some things blank if they're not sure?
Yeah, I don't know, whatever is easier for you, because I guess we just don't want them registering for extra electives, right? Trying to
Yeah.
get to that 6.
Right.
So maybe they just put in English 11, knowing they have to take some English class.
Right. That's a great point. If they mistakenly select a gen ed core grad required class, it's a pretty easy fix and doesn't impact the overall plot line of this whole sequence that plays out.
Mhm.
Whereas if they overdo it on some electives, and you guys do such a good job of helping them understand on the front end too, the likelihood of how many electives they'll have access to. And, you know, the unknown variable that's increased across gen ed and special ed in the last couple of years is that credit recovery component, right? We're not telling kids to request that at this time of year. We'd rather have them over request because it's easier to peel off than it is to show up next fall. Hey, I still need like 2 more classes. What's left? And then they're just ticked about what's left.
There will be a lot of students asking about like dual credit programs like PSEO and that sort of thing. And we're just really encouraging them to sign up for at least 6 credits of high school classes at this time. Just like Mark said, it's easier to drop than add later. So, because we just don't know how that will play out.
Yep.
So
That's a
yeah.
great
So-
point, and such a reality that we're seeing as far as PSEO. We are obligated to make sure they're aware of what PSEO is, and we have to provide information. We can't talk them in any direction away from it. Deb's actually got a great presentation that she does as far as kind of the intro level for those asking questions about PSEO. And if anybody wants that, let one of us know, because we'll be rolling that out to students after this process wraps up. Because we need to get this timeline going before the PSEO timeline. What else? All right, well, I talk really fast. If you missed something, and I am recording this, feel free to watch it over and over again, which would be, I'm sure, similar to most of the math flipped classrooms. That's what students do, right? Paul, don't shake your head. Students all watch it as many times as they need until they fully understand concepts. So please feel free to watch it as many times as you like. I don't know if you can do it in slow-mo or not. Break it down as much as you need. And then if or when you have questions, please reach out to one of us. We want to make sure you just feel positioned to get the info out so that you know what's going on. That's our goal here. All right. Otherwise, have a good rest of your day, and we will see everybody soon.